Russia has announced to forge ahead with a new trade corridor that will improve the transport and logistics architecture of the region. The International North-South Transport Corridor, or INSTC, has for long been a pipe dream, but is now a vital economic escape path for Moscow as it battles sanctions. For more than 2 decades, the INSTC, a 4,474-mile network of railroads, highways and maritime routes that connect Russia and India through Iran, remained on paper. But with economic sanctions from the West against Russia for its invasion of Ukraine, the new trade corridor is a major lifeline for Moscow, as EU sanctions are expected to remain even after the conflict with Ukraine is over. Historically, the absence of developed land routes has meant that freight from India to Russia has had to cross the Arabian Sea and the Mediterranean Sea, then go around Western Europe to reach St. Petersburg. Dry runs by India have shown that the 4,474-mile corridor, which cuts through Central Asia, the Caspian Sea, Iran, and finally the Arabian Sea, reduces travel from 60 days to 30 days and cuts costs by 30%. For India, the route is also strategic as it offers access to Central Asia and Afghanistan, bypassing their arch-enemy Pakistan. The sanctions on Russia and Iran continue to make investments in the INSTC risky. The route remains a patchwork of several independently run rail, road and maritime projects, without a single operator in charge. It remains to be seen if this trade route is a panacea to Russia's problems. Bangladesh is seeking a loan from the International Monetary Fund, becoming the latest South Asian nation to ask for assistance as costlier oil eats into the region's foreign exchange stockpiles. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's government has written to the multilateral lender with its request of $4.5 billion from the IMF. The IMF stands ready to support Bangladesh, and the staff will engage with the authorities on program design, the multilateral agency said after its staff visited the country. Foreign exchange reserves in Bangladesh slipped to $39.79 billion as of July 13 from $45.33 billion a year earlier. That's enough to cover roughly 4 months of its imports, slightly higher than the IMF's recommended 3-month cover. Bangladesh's economy is driven by its export-oriented textile industry, which has linked the nation to its market in Europe and the US, but these are struggling due to COVID-19 and then inflation due to the war in Ukraine. Bangladesh will need to agree to the IMF's stringent loan conditions, which in most cases further economic problems. The European Union governments have agreed to ration natural gas this winter to protect themselves against any further supply cuts by Russia as Moscow pursues its invasion of Ukraine. EU energy ministers approved a draft European law designed to lower demand for gas by 15% from August through to March. The legislation entails voluntary national steps to reduce gas consumption and, if they yield insufficient savings, trigger for mandatory actions in the 27-member bloc. I know that the decision was not easy, but I think at the end everybody understands that this sacrifice is necessary. We have to, and we will share the pain. Czech Industry Minister Josef Sekela told reporters after chairing the meeting in Brussels. Since Russia invaded Ukraine in late February and the West responded by imposing economic sanctions, 12 EU countries have faced halts to or reductions in their Russian gas deliveries. The disruptions in Russian energy trade with the EU already are stoking inflation to record levels in Europe and threatening to trigger a recession, just as the bloc was recovering from a pandemic-induced slump. The energy squeeze is also reviving decades-old political differences involving policy coordination. Tunisian President Kais Saied has celebrated almost certain victory of the yes vote in a referendum on a new constitution that hands him wide-ranging powers. The Electoral Commission, controlled by the president, said 95% voted yes in the constitutional referendum, which was boycotted by the opposition groups. After the projected outcome was announced on national television, Said's supporters drove cars in a procession through central Tunis, waving flags and beeping their horns, with some singing the national anthem. But only around a quarter of 9.3 million registered voters cast ballots, Tunisia's ISIE Electoral Commission said, showing widespread apathy with the political process. Tunisia's main opposition alliance accused the electoral board of falsifying turnout numbers. Tunisia was the birthplace of the Arab Spring and is held as a shining beacon of democracy, but after a decade, the democracy in Tunisia has really delivered incompetent governments and more infighting.